Hello everyone. So in this video, we're going to use Power Automate Desktop to totally automate uploading supplier invoices into Xero against a transaction. So for anyone that uses Xero or Quickbooks or Sage, more than likely, this is still a manual process. You need to probably save the invoice down that you more than likely receive through your email. And then whenever you're doing your reconciliation, just go to that folder and upload the invoice. We're going to totally automate that process using Power Automate Desktop. And this is exactly what Power Automate Desktop was built to do. So yeah, stay tuned and I'll basically walk through the flow in action.
So getting straight into the first flow, this is Power Automate on the cloud. And the first flow I've created here automatically saves down any emails that I receive from this email address, Microsoft, and this is in the subject filter. For my 365 invoices, this is always the subject filter. So I only want to save backup. This is the 365 full process. I would create a separate one if I wanted to for example, Power BI invoices. So when a new email arrives, it checks if it meets this condition. If it does, it goes and saves it here on SharePoint in a Supplier Invoices folder and in a Microsoft folder. And it dynamically saves those invoices. Invoices or invoice, it doesn't matter. If there's only one, it'll save one. If there's more than one, it will save more than one. So this actually runs on a trigger. So this is the kind of stuff that we'll be covering on the Power Platform in a Day course. So if this is of any interest to anyone, this is sort of a preview of the kind of flows that we would be creating. So the second flow then, once that is triggered and once an email comes in with that invoice, the second flow is whenever a file is created in that folder. So what it does is whenever it goes to that SharePoint folder, Power Automate, and whenever a new invoice is dropped into that folder, that is the trigger to then run the Power Automate Desktop flow, which essentially goes to Xero and uploads that invoice into Xero. Now, what some people might be wondering is whenever you get an invoice from a supplier, sometimes it might not hit your bank account until maybe a day or two, and therefore it won't be in Xero for two or 3 days. So one thing that you can do, and I would do it here whenever I'm running this actual flow, I don't want to do it for this process because we'd be waiting 2 days. But what you can do is you can build in a delay here. So you can literally add an action and wait 2 days. Now, why would you want to do that? So you literally type in 2 and then you go to days. Why would you want to wait 2 days in this example? Because this transaction wouldn't be in my Xero the day I receive the invoice. It's more than likely 2, if not 3 days. So I'd probably put in 3 as a buffer. And that means you'll see it now in a second. Whenever Power Automate Desktop goes and logs into Xero for me, that ensures that transaction will actually be in Xero. Whereas if you didn't have this step and you literally just went and once the invoice is saved in the SharePoint folder, the Power Automate Desktop flow started, then that transaction is not going to be in Xero and it's not going to work. So again, another powerful action within Power Automate is the delay action. It's probably underutilized, probably because it's not known as much as the other actions within Power Automate. So again, I'm not going to showcase these two processes in action because I would have to receive an invoice from Microsoft and I've received one a couple of days. So we're going to pretend that these two have actually automatically occurred. Then what happens then is whenever the 2 days have passed, it will then run the flow, which I'm going to run manually just again to showcase how it works. So this is the flow in Power Automate Desktop. And just to give a quick demo on Power Automate Desktop, if you will, it's fairly simple. Like whenever you want to launch a new Chrome, so basically go to Google Chrome and you put in the URL, you literally just put that in as an action. So you would just say launch new Chrome and you literally drag it in and you put in, let's say we wanted to put it in here, you put in your URL and automatically Power Automate Desktop will go to that URL on your behalf whenever you run this or if you run it on a trigger. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that the 2 days have passed and the invoice is sitting in the folder. So we're going to run this manually, and I'm not going to touch my laptop, and you're going to see Power Automate open Xero up now as it's doing right now. it's going to log in for me. I have entered in my login credentials as variables into Power Automate Desktop. So it goes in and it knows what the credentials are and it plugs them in. And then I tell it where to go. So I have a transactions report in Xero. I then have to search for Microsoft and also search for subscriptions because I want to find that exact transaction. And again, you could set up, or you more than likely would set up, multiple different flows like this for all of your different backup invoices. So you can see there, I found the transaction. It goes to upload files. And then it searches for the folder where that is saved. So you'll see now it searched it there. I have it actually saved on OneDrive here, but you can also do SharePoint as well. And it literally uploaded it. So you can see that took, I think, like 30 seconds. I'd have to go back and check the time on the clip. But you can see here, this transaction is for Microsoft 365, date the 15th of January and amount 1416. If we go in and open that invoice, you can see it's pretty small. So how can I make that bigger? Download. I'll just open it here. So there. So you can see 1416 there. So you can see, yeah, pretty simple, pretty easy to do. And one thing to mention as well there in this, people might be watching this and they might be saying to themselves, well, what happens if I'm on my laptop whenever that process starts? You would usually build Power Automate, I guess, automatic flows like this one to occur on a virtual machine. So for anyone that doesn't know what a virtual machine is, it's like sort of having a second laptop, but in the cloud, if you will, and Power Automate will go and do that in the virtual machine. So it won't pop up on your screen like it did, but it will still log into, I guess, in a hidden view, if you want to put it that way, still log into Xero, upload your invoice, and you will probably forget that the flow has happened. You can build on it. Obviously, you can send an email to yourself to remind you, maybe if you want to check it, just make sure it's all running smoothly. But yeah, that's a great way to use Power Automate Desktop to totally automate uploading backup for supplier invoices into Xero.